Hello, good morning once again, and welcome everyone. My name is Uchino Michael Abali. I'm so happy to have you in today's class, and I want to welcome you to our project management class today. In our last class and in my last video, I talked about the concept of Scrum, and I did mention that Scrum is actually talking about team, and it's one of the kind of practices we actually adopt in order to achieve the agile mindset. And today we're going to be looking at, I'm just going to say one or two stuff about Scrum again, then we'll forge ahead because we're going to look at the Scrum framework. And also we're going to look at the concept of the user stories and all that. So just a review on what we discussed in the last class. We did mention that there are 3 rules, basic rules in Scrum. And we have the development team. If you have not forgotten, I didn't mention that we have the development team. I did mention that we have the Scrum Master, we have the product owner, and I say the product owner is just like the business analyst. And I also did mention that the development team are the ones carrying out the activities of the projects. All right, and then the Scrum Master is the master of the Scrum, like he's the one that understands the Scrum principles and the process. So he's the facilitator of the Scrum process. So that's who the Scrum Master is. So in Agile, we call him the Scrum Master, but in predictive project management methodology, we call them the project manager. So when you think about the project manager in the predictive methodology, you can think of the Scrum Master in the Scrum team, in relation to the Scrum team, okay? Now, I want you to take a closer look at the picture we have here. All right, so what we have here right now, you can see that we have the product owner, and right under the product owner here, you're going to see what we call, he's sitting on the product backlog. It simply means that it is the duty of the product owner to manage product backlog. And right over him there, you can see input from end users, customers, team, and other stakeholders. So everything every other person is saying concerning the project, okay? It's the duty of the product owner to pick up those feedbacks from the end users, the customers, the team, and the other stakeholders. He analyzes them, he puts in the feedback into the product's backlog. Okay, so it's going to actually give rise to new features. So he prioritizes the features so that in the next sprint, the team is going to sit back and look at which among these features, could be more important to work on in the next sprint. So it's kind of he's kind of prioritizing it. Then once the team is done with that sprint, they're going to come back again, okay, pick up items or features from that product backlog, transfer the features into the sprint backlog as the task that will be accomplished in the current sprint or in the upcoming sprints. I want to believe I'm clear enough. So we have the team, okay, the team in Agile, all right. Let me tell you something. In the predictive, okay, project management, all right, we say that the project manager is the integrator of all the knowledge areas. That means he's the one that integrates everything, all the knowledge areas, the scope management, the schedule management, the risk management, the quality management, the stakeholder management, the procurement management plan, the quality management plan, and the rest of them. The project manager as a person is seen as the one or as the integrator of every knowledge area in the predictive project management methodology. But in the Agile, it's a different ballgame entirely. All right, it's the team that is making the decision. All right, but the team selects how much to commit to do by sprint's end. So it's about the team. All right, so that is the sprint planning. So they come together, they select what can we do by the end of the sprint? What can we actually achieve? What bulk of work based on what they know? I don't know. I think I mentioned what they call the sprint velocity. The sprint velocity is telling you the speed at which a team can accomplish task over time. All right, that is the speed velocity. So if a work can be accomplished in relation to two teams, for instance, if you have a task A and B of the same capacity, same requirements, same in every dimension, all right, then you have, like I said task A and B, and you have team X and Y to accomplish this team and to accomplish the task, and then you discover that team S is accomplishing that same task in 2 weeks, and team Y is accomplishing that same task in 1 week. Okay, you could see that the speed of operation of these teams is actually clearly defined. All right. So when we talk about the team velocity, we're talking about the speed at which a team can accomplish a task over a period of time. You're going to see that in your exam. So please, when you come across that, just understand that they're talking about how fast a team can accomplish a task. And you agree with me that how fast a team can accomplish a task depends on the quality of the team. If you have a team with inexperienced team members, people who are not so experienced, people who are not so much used to the system, they're just trying to learn the system, then you have another team of experienced team members. I don't need to tell you what happens. All right, you agree with me. If I ask you what's the team velocity, what do you think? Or if I ask you to predict the team velocities of these two teams, you will actually boldly tell me that the team with experienced members will actually accomplish this task faster than the team with inexperienced members. So that is why most times people are particular about experiences. So it takes time. In Agile, we're looking at how we can build the team. All right. In project management, generally, you talk about the various phases a team will have to go through. All right. You talk about the various phases you have to go through. Okay, you form the team is formed. All right. Then once the team is formed, then you have the forming, we have the storming. Then after the storming, we have the norming. All right. Then after the norming, you have the performing. Then you have the adjourning of the team. So first of all, you have to form the team. It's the time the team comes together. You're coming together. It's a coming together of people with different mentalities, different culture, different way of life, and all that. They've not worked together before. They never knew each other anywhere before. So they're just coming to work together. And I will tell you that you need a whole lot of understanding for these guys to work together. All right. Work with understanding. So there's going to be a forming process where they meet, and then there's going to be a storming process where there will be misunderstanding among the team members. There's going to be issues among them. But when you see all that, just understand, as an experienced project manager or as an experienced Scrum master, you need to know that it's a normal thing with any team. All right. So they're going to go through a lot of processes. Don't allow them to break. Let them just go on. They're going to have a lot of misunderstanding, and at the end of it all, they're going to understand, okay, this is this, this is this, these are this kind of people and all that. They get used to each other over time. All right. The next thing is going to be norming, meaning that norming, norming, meaning that they're going to get used to the system. All right. Okay. Psychologically, they're going to kind of get used to the process, get used to each individual, there'll be high level of tolerance and all that. And then you discover that there'll be a shift of focus from individual or personality to the objective of the project. We'll now have to look at it. Team members will now have to say, okay, now it's not about me. It's not about the other guy. It's not about my personality. I think the project is the key. It's a basic thing. So let's just put every other thing, personality differences together, and see how we can actually achieve this. So that is norming. All right. So after the norming, the next thing you're going to do is that this team is now okay. They're performing. All right. So you see that you're building a self-reliant team. So in Agile, we want to make as much as possible. We want to build a cross-functional team. A team that can perform independently. They can handle every aspect of a project and do it perfectly. And secondly, we want to build a self-reliant team, a team that can work together without any chaos. So they would have passed through all the processes. So now you discover that you can now boldly say, I have a team. The next is going to be adjourning, the last one. That means the end of the project, the end of the project. any day, anytime, it's always much of great advantage to work with a team that have been together because they've gone through all the processes. If you're trying to raise a new team, you're going to go through all this process. So in team, all right, the team selects how much to commit. There's an understanding among the team members. So they understand their strengths. So they're now working together. How much can we do in the next sprint? That's what they ask themselves. And then they come up with, a workable, kind of schedule for the next sprint. It could be a 2-week sprint. It could be a 3 weeks. It could be a 4 weeks, but between 2 to 4 weeks, please. So now, bear in mind, please, in your exam, understand these things. I'm bringing up some tips. Please pay attention to the tips. I will be saying a lot of things, and it will do you well if you pay attention. All right? Pay attention. All right. So it's going to be between 2 to 4 weeks. Okay. They are coming up with a task, and the tasks to be accomplished in that sprint will be written down or updated in the sprint backlog. All right. It will be in the sprint backlog, and that is the task they are going to achieve. All right. So after that, the sprint will begin to commence. All right. So while the sprint is going on, there's going to be the normal, the product backlog refinements, meaning that the product owner will be going through the backlog again. He's interacting with the end users, customers, teams, and all stakeholders. For the past product, it could be that iPhone 6 had been rolled out. He wants to know, how are you enjoying your iPhone 6? How's it going to be? I hope it's okay, right? Do you have any other thing to add and all that? While that is going on, he's also relating with the stakeholders in the project, the owners of the project, or people who are affected by the project. You want to know, okay, how is it going to, is there going to be community issues? Is there any need for, permission, development permission and all that? Is there any need for all that? Do we need to obtain permission and all that? Is there going to be any challenge? Is there going to be any issue that may or have the capability to affect our projects? Okay, so he's looking at that. He's interacting with the stakeholders and all that. So that's the work of the product owner. And then while that is going on, he's refining the backlog. All right, he's getting requirements, he's doing a lot of things, he's interacting and all that. Then the project is going on. Okay, but one thing that is constant in Agile, like I said, a fixed constraint in Agile is time. If it's 2 weeks, it's 2 weeks. You cannot increase the time. You cannot increase the time. It's going to be a 2 weeks job. All right, so no change in duration. There is no change in goal. Then you have to have your daily Scrum meeting and artifact updates. Okay, you're going to have your daily Scrum meeting. I told you in the daily Scrum meeting, it's going to be just 15 minutes meeting, not more than 15 minutes. And also, the question is clear. You're asking everybody, what did you achieve yesterday? You want to know the progress review. What did you achieve yesterday? What are you setting out to achieve today? Mr. X, what are you setting out to achieve today? Mr. X tells you, okay, yesterday I achieved this, we're able to do this and do that. And today we are actually setting out to, do this and do this and do this and do that. At the end of the whole thing, you're going to ask them again. The Scrum Master will ask them. It could be the Scrum Master. And also, let me say something. The daily Scrum meeting is not compulsory, okay? All right, for the Scrum Master to facilitate. When I mean facilitate, to anchor the daily Scrum. In the Scrum team, anybody among the Scrum team, all right, can facilitate the Scrum or can lead the Scrum team. Let me come in a very simple term. Can lead the Scrum team. So whoever, anybody, Mr. ABC, anybody, any member of the Scrum team can say, okay, what did you do yesterday? Let's know, what did we do? So the Scrum Master can just stand aside. That's the beauty of so in the Agile process, the Scrum Master is just like a servant. It's just like servant leadership. He's just following to make sure that things are going in line with the Scrum principles. All right, but the team members are given the full right of place to express themselves. All right, they can express themselves. They can say things about the project. If there are new ideas and initiatives, please, it is welcome in the Scrum team. Yeah, okay, so that's just it. Now, anybody, and then the Scrum Master can also facilitate this daily Scrum. So let's not get it twisted. So anybody or the Scrum Master can facilitate the daily Scrum meeting. All right, so That's just it. So I talked about the sprint review. If you've not forgotten, I said it's a presentation, kind of. The sprint review is a presentation where you have, gotten to your final sprint, you have an increment. The box you're seeing here is a representation of an increment, potentially shippable product increment. So when you have an increment, all right, then you present your increments to your customers, to your clients, tell them what you have done, what you've produced, a new product that came up, how it worked, point them back to the picture and the roadmap on how you began and everything. Let them see it, and then they're going to look at the increment. They will tell you, then they will tell you that, no, this is not what we're expecting. All right? Or they will tell you, this is just what we wanted. Then once you're done, if there's any disapproval, okay, you can go back to your drawing board. You're going to have the sprint retrospective where you go back to your drawing board and you begin to ask yourself, what did we not do well? How can we do it better? All right? So that's just it. So now we have this Scrum framework, the Scrum framework. Now, the Scrum is built on 3 frameworks. In your exams, you're going to say this, all right? You're likely going to say this in your exam. Okay, so we have 3 basic frameworks. Number 1, but let me just go back to the previous slide. The Scrum values, we have what we call the Scrum values. The first one is you have to be open to each other. We're not hiding anything, all right? Because if you're hiding something, it has the natural potential to affect the operation of the project. So we want to make sure that as much as possible, we're very open to each other. And also, respect is very important. You have to respect people's value and culture. Because somebody's talking somehow or speaking somehow doesn't mean that you look at the person, you laugh over the person, and the person brings up suggestion, you just turn down on the person. It has a way of affecting the project as well. Then you need courage also. In the Scrum team, we want to make sure that every member of the Scrum team is courageous. So focus is another thing. As much as possible, we want to be able to focus on the objective of the project. And also, commitment is another thing also. Commitment. We need to be committed to one another and committed to the project also. Now, like I said, the 3 basic pillars of Scrum is transparency. We want to make sure that everything is transparently done. Nothing is hidden in the Scrum project or Scrum process. You're not hiding anything from the stakeholders. You're not hiding anything from the Scrum team. You're not hiding anything from the product owner. The product owner is not hiding anything from the Scrum master and all that. Everybody is working together. There's a high level of transparency. And then also inspection. You want to make sure that, you don't need somebody from outside to come and inspect the project. You want to make sure you inspect your project. You agree with me that if you do the right thing by yourself, you don't need somebody to check or look up on you or check up on you to know if you're doing the right thing. You look up on yourself, you check up on yourself and see. If you're not doing the right thing, you tell yourself, I'm not doing the right thing, I need to do the right thing. So that is how the Scrum team works. So you want to make sure that you inspect yourself, and that's the essence of the daily stand-up meeting. You sit together, you do an inspection. What did we do yesterday? Did we really achieve anything yesterday? Okay, what are we going to achieve today? And are there any bottlenecks and all that? So all work done by everybody is visible to the team all the time. That's transparency. The whole team meets every day in the daily Scrum to inspect each item that is being worked on, and also adaptation. So in the daily Scrum meeting, you meet every day. You look at the items. Are they done in the right way? Is this really according to the objective of the project? Are we deviating? Is there a deviation on all that? So just look at all that and see how to, that is inspection. And also adaptation. If they discover changes, maybe there are changes, they adapt to them. Okay, in the predictive project methodology, if there are changes, you have to raise a change request, you have to go through, do an evaluation of the change, know the impact of the change on the scope of the project or the baseline of the project. Then you have to go to the change control board and get a permission from them, explain to them the impact of the change you're about to effect on the baseline, project baseline. Then if you have an approval, they will look at it and say, oh no, we don't have the enough financial capability to handle this change. Then we are striping off that change. But if they have the ability to say, okay, now we're giving approval to the change, we can go ahead and effect the change. So, but the process is just so rigorous. So, but in the case of Agile, we want to make sure that we have high level of adaptation. If there are changes, we adapt to them. Okay, we can add, we can remove items from the sprint backlog. when roadblocks happen. For instance, in your sprint backlog, you have selected the items you want to execute in the next sprint. If it happens that you're not able to kind of take care of or kind of execute all the items in the next sprint, you can take off some of the features from your sprint backlog, take it back to your product backlog, and then keep it against the subsequent sprints. Okay, so the team also inspects and adapts at the other Scrum events. All right, so that's the empirical process control theory. Everyone is working with current, accurate information about the project. All right, so the next thing I'm going to talk about also is the user story and story points. The user story and story points. Now, why are we talking about the user story? This is one of the topics that is very difficult for most PMP students. I personally found this somehow difficult because it's kind of funny and strange to our understanding. And I keep wondering, so I decided to go, let me really understand what is happening here. Now, why do we need to know about story points? What's the meaning of story points? Okay, so in Agile, work units is measured in story points. Story points. Okay, so the essence of that is that you want to know the unit of work you can actually execute. All right, so user story is the smallest unit of work in an Agile framework. Okay, so in Agile, the smallest unit of work in an Agile framework is what? The user story. So what is a user story? A user story is actually a customer requirement. It's a requirement that is written in the customer's perspective. Okay? It's written in the customer's perspective. It's talking about customer requirements. And when we talk about requirement is the scope of the project. It's the feature of the project. It's telling you what the team is going to achieve, what the team is working on. Okay? It's written in this form. For instance, as a type of user, maybe as Mr. Michael, I want to be able to cover up this lesson so that some, prospective candidates, PMP candidates, okay, can be able to look up this lesson and get first-hand information and get all necessary materials they need, okay, to equip themselves for the upcoming PMP exam. All right, that could be the user story. That's just the way it is. So it's a requirement. So for that reason, I work on the requirements. I put up this lesson, and the PMP students out there are looking up, they're going through, and it's somehow, it's useful to them, and they pick up one or two stuff, they're able to prepare for their PMPs and they pass, and that gives me great joy. So that's how a user story is. It's just a small unit of work in an Agile framework. All right, so the story points. Now, the idea of story points is talking about the size of, the work of the unit of work. And when you talk about size, you now understand that all fingers are not what? They are not equal. So some are big, some are small. If you talk about work as well, maybe you have 100 liters of water, 50 liters of water, 20 liters of water, 10 liters of water, and you want people to carry them. And you look at it very well. Maybe 100 liters is too heavy. It's heavier than the 50 liters. The 50 is heavier than the 20. 20 is heavier than 10, and just like that. So you can see that there is relative sizing of those water description that I just gave now. So the story points helps you to focus on the size of features rather than the exact amount of time it will take to develop them. Now, Scrum teams keep the team engaged in planning together and allow for uncertainty in their plan. All right? Now, the basic thing there is that it helps to focus on the relative size of the features. Okay, now, when I mean features, what does it mean? Okay, feature is a part of a whole. That's what it means. A part of something. All right, it's a part of something. For instance, if I want to design a car, right? Okay, I have the tire, the car tire, I have the chassis of the car, I have the engine of the vehicle, I have the electrical aspect of the vehicle, I have the design of the car. So these are different features. Right? So I want to focus on the size of these features. I want to ask myself, which one is more difficult to accomplish than the other? Is the tire more easier for me to do? Is the designing of the car more easier for me to do? Is the engine construction more easier for me to do? I'm going to rate them in a scale. I'm going to attach relative sizes based on their weights to know the time it will take me to accomplish this work. All right, so you need to understand in agile project, when you talk about story points, you're talking about the time it will take you to accomplish a feature or to accomplish a task in an agile project. It's talking about time. It's a function of time. Like we say, by focusing on the relative size of features rather than the exact amount of time to take to develop them, Scrum teams keep the team engaged in planning together and allow for uncertainty in their plan. So we're looking at the sizes of the work. The size of the work is a function of how long it will take you to accomplish that project. Okay, so now there are different methods in trying to figure out the story points. Please pay attention to this. Don't get confused, please. It's one area that the prospective candidates, PMP candidates, get confused. The story points and all that. But get used to it, please. All right. Now, the story points, okay, is a measure of the weights or the amount of work you have at hand. Okay, that's what the story point is all about. It tells you the amount of work you have at hand. Okay, all right. So now there are so many methodologies are being in use. Okay, for you to be able to accomplish, for you to be able to measure your story point. We have the T-shirt sizing. In your exam, they're going to ask you a few of the methodologies you use in designing the story point. You have the T-shirt sizing, and it's simply telling you how big, how small something is. Okay, like in your T-shirt, you're going to see, they are going to ask you what's your size, what do you put on? You're going to tell them, mine is just extra small. You tell them, mine is just medium size, mine is extra large, mine is extra large, but the size of it tells you what comes to mind. Okay, so your team can design and say, okay, if this feature of my development, maybe like the car example I gave you, if the weights, okay, or the energy I need to design the tire of the car is not much, I can say just extra small. If it's going to take me too much time to design the engine of the car, I can say it's going to take me what? Small. All right. Okay, let me say medium, and I'll give it 3 points. All right. So if it's going to take me too much time to design the chassis of the car, I'm going to give it extra large. Okay. So these are different features of these cars. I'm bringing them out. I'm looking at the energy it will take me, what it will take me, the inputs, the degree of inputs is going to take me to be able to accomplish each of these features. Right, of this vehicle. So now I'm just using example, the vehicle as an example, but you can have a building project where you have the foundation, you have the DPC, bringing it up to the DPC, you have the block wall, you have the suspended slab, then you have the block wall again, you have the next suspended slab and all that. It keeps going till the end of your building, to the roof and all that. So you're going to break this down into different phases. You are excavating the trench, foundation trench and all that. You are blinding, you are, you're casting you're casting your, the column footings, you're casting the whatever, depending on the nature of foundation you want to do. You're breaking this down into different pieces. Then you're asking yourself, which one is more difficult to do? Is the excavation too difficult for me? I'm going to grade it. If it's not too difficult for me to excavate, do my setting outs, then I'm going to put that under extra small. If it's difficult, if casting is more difficult than excavation, I'm going to give it small. Okay. Now, if my DPC, block forming is more difficult than my casting, I'm going to give it large. If the casting of suspended slab is more difficult than the block work, I'm going to give it, or the first suspended slab, or the suspended slab is more difficult than the front work, I'm going to give it extra large. Now, based on that, I'm going to assign story points. Okay, the story point is a function of how long it will take me to accomplish each of those features. Now, the T-shirt sizing is an example, that is used to explain how agile teams, okay, group their user stories. So user story is a function of how long it will take. It's a function of the weight or the amount of work at hand. Okay, so the more the work, the more the time it takes you to accomplish the work. All right. Now, apart from the t-shirt sizing, you have what's called the Fibonacci series or the Fibonacci sequence of story pointing, where you get your story point also. In the Fibonacci series, or Fibonacci sequence, all right, you're looking at the number system where you have the first thing you have is number 1. The next number after number 1 is 2. Now 2 plus 1 is going to give you 5. Sorry, 2 plus 1 is 2 plus, you have your 1, then you have your 2, okay? Then you have the next number after 2 is 3. Then 2 plus 3 is going to give you 5, sorry. 2 plus 3 is going to give you 5. All right, so you have 5 ahead and you have 3 behind. The 3 plus 5 is going to give you 8. Okay, so now you have 5 behind and 8 ahead of you. The 5 plus 8 is going to give you 13. So it continues in that pattern. So if you have to get the next sequence of this Fibonacci series, it's going to be 8 plus 13, which is going to give you 21. So if you want to get the next sequence, it's going to be 21 plus 13. So it progresses in that pattern. So they may ask you, they may give you they may kind of take off some of the in-between in the series and tell you what's going to be the next series in this Fibonacci series. Then a good understanding of this explanation will help you to know that it's going to be the addition of the previous to the subsequent, to the next. All right, that will give you the next Fibonacci sequence. So this sequence is used also, okay, to get our story points. All right, so also you have to follow the invest guidelines for good user stories. All right, so for you to get a good user story, the user story must be independent. It means that the feature you're talking about must be independent. It must be negotiable. It shouldn't be something that relates to another. So like you say, if you're looking at the excavation of another foundation with excavation of another foundation, you're talking of almost the same thing. So these are just the same thing, okay? They're not independent, so you cannot use them as a different feature. So they're just one feature. So it has to be this feature and another different feature. So that's just it. It has to be negotiable, valuable, estimable, okay, small and testable. So if you put it all, it's called invest. So the invest, chronology, the invest terminology there is what is required. We have to follow the invest guideline for a good user story. All right, for a good user story, we need to use the invest guideline. Okay, so that is just it. That is just it. So, so far we've looked at the user stories and also the story points. And I think this is just one thing I wanted to bring out today. I don't know if there's any question, from what we've discussed so far. And I would really appreciate your questions, you can just drop it down there, at the comment section so that I can address your questions. Okay, so if there is any confusion, you can also put it down there. Okay, and like I normally say, I want to encourage you to kind of tap the subscribe button so that you keep getting my videos as it drops, and also just give me a thumbs up if you appreciate what we're doing. Yes, thank you very much. And to our PMP candidates, those who are preparing, I will not fail to always encourage you and tell you that you can make it. Yes, it is not a big deal. Yes, and I keep advising because I know that our programs are not the same. We have people with very tight schedule. It doesn't mean that you can't write your PMP, but what you need to do, you're going to have a very long, extensive, kind of timetable or time schedule for you to kind of study. And then discipline is very important. Make sure in a day, at least you're giving yourself 1 or 2 hours to study. Okay, if you don't have all the time, you can just have like 1 or 30 minutes to study your book and prepare for your PMP. Yes, and something I will also advise you is that once you know you're making progress in your studies, try to register for your PMP exam. All right, because most times people don't register because of fear and all that. So, and it just continues that way till so many years without writing the PMP. So make sure register for your PMP exam, and then it will be like a driver for you to study ahead. And then when the time comes, I want to assure you, you're going to write and pass your exams. Please do call me if you have any question. Call me, drop comments on the comment section, and I'm going to attend to it. Thank you very much. My name is Uchenna Michael Bali. See you in the next class.